All right, everybody, another week, another hot takes. This is episode 4. This is on the second channel, the KarQ. Make sure you subscribe there. And here we go. Remember to leave your hot takes in the comments below, and we'll keep screenshotting and adding more to the list. Jazz Jack Rabbit says, the removal of LFG doesn't get nearly talked about enough and is one of the most baffling decisions with Overwatch 2. Things like the free-to-play launch with its new returning players, competitive team queue, and PvE mission events are all things LFG is designed for. Sorry for asking me, what is LFG? Well, let me explain, chat and everybody. LFG was the looking for a group function that was available in Overwatch 1. It was basically the way for you to find teammates. You would add some filters like I'm looking for someone, yes comms, no comms, just a bunch of filters, and then usage. I actually think this is not really a hot take. It doesn't get talked about enough. That is true. But I will say it's probably because people didn't use it that much. Not to defend corporate Blizzard. I do think it's good to have, and it's still worth it to put resources into something for like the group of people that like to use it. Not say it's the right choice, but the harsh reality is if a product doesn't get used in corporate, they just don't allocate resources. For a while, the workshop was run by 2 people when it first came out, and not a lot of people were using it, so they didn't allocate resources for it. They have people to continue developing the game with other aspects of the game, and LFG was a small thing, didn't really get tuned. I believe it wasn't used enough, so I think they scrapped it. That being said, I feel like they should have kept it, or at least had someone like rebuild it again in Overwatch 2, and it's just there for people who want to use it. I don't think that's like a bad thing by any means. I don't think it's a hot take. I do think it should be discussed, and we should encourage them to bring it back despite the small usage. Be honest though. I see some of you guys in chat saying it. Tell me if you use the LFG, and if you didn't, be honest. Now let's just get a small sample size in the Twitch chat right here. I see 1 yes, 2, 3, 4 no's, 5, 6, 7, 8, you did use it. Small sample size, we'll say there were more no's than yes for the Overwatch 1 players. Okay, next one from Walmart Dweller says, a surrender button would be great, and to balance it out, you could make it to where all 5 players have to agree, and also add 6v6 to the arcade. So kind of 2 hot takes. Is this really a hot take? I don't actually think this is a hot take. I think a surrender button would be good only if all 5 agree. You can't have like 4-to-1. I think in League of Legends, it's like a 4-to-1 vote and the one person can be outcast, because you can have a 4 stack and then that one person who isn't in the group can say like they want to play, but the 4 stack would all vote like surrender. Only for all 5, and I'll be okay with it. But Overwatch is a fast-paced game. The games don't really last that long, like 15 minutes on average, right? Or less, depending on the game mode too. Technically, mathematically, surrender is 4-to-1, but I think it has to be all 5. Or if somebody leaves and they're past the time to return, all 4 can surrender, then sure, I'm okay with that. Also, adding 6v6 back to the arcade is also not a hot take. I think they should as well. And I think when people play it in arcade, they quickly realize how chaotic it was, and maybe it was good that they left it in the past. That's just me though. On Discord, Atomic Light says, support shouldn't deal as much damage as they do. I mean, as a DPS support main like myself, it feels wrong how easily I can outclass my DPS in damage and kills while also healing everyone and enabling them. The primary function of support should be to heal while also doing damage, but not the other way around. Although I do not want all supports to be Lifeweaver Mercy, I just wish their damage capability was lowered. Not a hot take, chat. This has been echoed as a sentiment across all. The thing is, you need supports to be able to fight back a little bit, or else you run into things where supports just feel helpless. They're always the first one picked and they feel like a useless role. But a medium ground. Supports shouldn't deal as much damage is kind of a blanket statement, and blanket statements do often result in blanket solutions. We don't want that. There are some supports that certainly do more than others. It's not like Mercy or Lifeweaver will do much, like Atomic Light said. We can target the ones when we look at the average numbers. I do think Illari is a big culprit, and Baptiste, if you truly focus on DPS. We saw a few games ago from one of my GM1 Twitch chatters. They're in the game with me. They had 12,000 damage on Baptiste, and they beat me in that game. They were pocketed though, but still, it's kind of insane how much damage you can output on a select few supports. Now, what would I change to help this? First, I think for Baptiste, you could tackle the ammo and or I don't know about the tempo, because like it's kind of like a high APM mechanical skill to look up, look down. It's not hard for high level players, but certainly in the lower metal ranks, I don't think a lot of Baptiste players are even effective at doing that, and their damage numbers aren't even that impressive because they end up heal botting. But when you put Baptiste in the hands of talented players who are also able to do that and put lamp and regen burst and all that stuff, they're just so good. I've suggested this before. They can revert the window back to a small square. They can lower the damage number from 25 to 24 again, so you don't do 25 times 3. 75 through a window, 150, land a single headshot, they're dead. You don't need that. You can change the break point. You could honestly even do Baptiste at like 23 damage instead of 24. That's big. And then the lamp doesn't need to be, what, 150 HP? Bring it back to 100 HP. For Illari, so the way Illari works is that she's actually easier to land shots compared to other heroes. I'm sure people who play Illari or play hit scans will notice if you play Ashe and you try to hit someone's hitbox, if the bullet is not on their like hitbox, it'll miss. But if you're playing Illari, you'll notice that it's a lot more forgiving to land your shots. You'll notice anybody here who plays Illari will be like, it's really easy to hit your shots. That's because it's a hit scan, but each hit scan is represented as a projectile in the game. It just instantly registers. You can actually lower the hitbox radius of each bullet, but you can do something like that with Illari, where you do thin out the damage hitbox. And also Pylon is such a like you can just focus on doing damage and then the Pylon heals for you. But at least for Baptiste, you do have to shoot and look down and heal, although it is quite forgiving. So that's my take on Illari. Mayuwu says, I think hero switching and its status as core design philosophy for this type of game is a mistake that does the game and its players a disservice. In trying to reduce frustration, promote versatility, and player freedom, it ironically achieves the exact opposite in many situations. I think that's a hot take, chat. You guys like hero switching? Listen, there's like two lumps of people. I actually like hero switching. Maybe it's the alt charge change that kind of punish it, but I've always been a fan of it. I think Overwatch is a dynamic game where you should be allowed to swap heroes mid-game. It's not like Valorant or League where you pick one hero and you lock it in the whole game. I think hero switching is a part of the game and a core philosophy of design. Like you said, it's frustrating to always play and get your thing countered, so it's frustrating, but it's also frustrating for me if they have a Pharah Mercy and I can't swap to like a hit scan. Doesn't that also make it frustrating on the other end too? It promotes versatility, and I think that's true, and it player freedom, player agency. To allow you to switch is good. I think the people who are stuck only one tricking are the ones that may also complain about it, and also mostly the tanks. I think counter swapping for tanks is another problem of its own because it is a single role. People who are, obviously not very happy are the loudest opinions, and maybe I'm wrong, mostly tank players that are complaining about hero switching. But as a support player, I'm looking through my lens. You hear all the tanks lenses, but I'll give it to you from my perspective as a support player. I need hero swapping or else I'm screwed. Like if I'm playing, I don't know, Zenyatta and they play Doom, Sombra, Tracer, and I'm not allowed to swap, like it's gonna be miserable for me. So like there's just two ends of it, you know what I mean? Rao Knows says, DPS needs a new role passive. Having fast reloads is a joke compared to the self-heal of support in a game based around sustain. In general, support is the only role that does have it all: damage, utility, and heals. If you lose a DPS, that's fine. You can step up and fill in the missing damage, but if you lose a support, your team is at a huge disadvantage. I think that's true, but what's funny, what people talk about support passive now is that the opposite, like people were masked by the strength of the support passive back in the day because the DPS passive was actually more powerful than the support passive in season 1 and 2. Remember what the season 1 and 2 DPS passive was? Movement speed and reload, if I'm not mistaken. There's two things built into it. That movement speed thing was so strong in season 1. Of course, people complained about it and they got rid of it, but it was what made Tracer, the Genjis, Sombra in season 1. It was a Winston. It was such a fast-paced meta back in the day because of the resets and the movement speed. Now, once that's gone, I do think their new blanket DPS passive with just reload is not very good, simply because there are other, there's some DPS heroes that don't benefit from the reload as much. I do think they could take a look at that again. Or people have been on the fence about, removing role passives as a whole, maybe except for tanks. Tanks would be able to keep their less CC, but it feels weird to just have tanks have a unique role passive. I think you could design something that won't feel as oppressive for the supports or the damage, or something a bit better for the damage and not as suppressive for the supports. That could be fun for all. But I do think they do need a new role passive. Not a hot take. Next hot take, Nomad says, people have gigantic skill boners for heroes that genuinely wreck the game or are just in broken states. The fact that people refuse to accept heroes like Zen or Tracer are absurdly broken after 6.5 years is hilarious to me. This is probably an older take. I think Zen is one of the least, I wouldn't say underperforming, but the least popular support in high ranks, at least in my experience on the NA ladder right now. And Tracer's like I think Tracer's always going to be good because of the high skill thing. You can always pressure from the side angle, but but it's less that Zen or Tracer are bad. It's more like the other heroes are just better. I think it's healthy for the game to have heroes that are, you know, only effective when played by with really high skill floors and skill ceilings, etc. And then you have heroes that are like lower skill floor to generate value. You can argue Zen does a lot of damage. Bap and Illari do a lot, but so does Zen. But Zen has this weakness of being super squishy and vulnerable. Bap and Illari do similar, if not more damage than Zen, but they have survivability tools, mostly Lamp and Regen Burst, and Illari's a pylon setup and all that stuff. Yeah, Zen's not broken right now. 2 hot takes. Add a 6v6 roll queue as an arcade mode. Agreed, I mentioned that earlier. Not a hot take. And they can choose between them. And then second hot take is give Roadhog 800 HP, take a breather, heals 400 HP, and can heal when anti. Okay, that's a hot take. He's just a bigger damage sponge than he already is. You need to kind of redesign him from the ground up. Yeah, he won't die, but that is not the way to do it. Can heal through anti? Like what? He just wants to break the rules of Overwatch like that? That's a big nopers. Hot take from Chos No Sauce. Junkrat takes skill when dueling, and it's not hard to dodge his spam. He's got 6 shots, position better, and stop crying. Honestly, not even a hot take. Kind of mild. I actually think good Junkrats do take skill. Wouldn't say it's like hard to dodge 6 shots. It can be annoying if they luckily bounce on you, but it's true. He's not wrong though. I'm gonna be honest. At the high levels, the spam rat down the choke isn't actually like the big problem. It's like running around a corner and then getting fucking one shot with the shot into a mine. That's kind of low skill, but the high skill comes where you're not in an enclosed building and you get booped by the mine, but the junk hits a crazy air shot by predicting your aerial movement. That's actually high skill. So it just depends on if you're in an enclosed room or out in the open. But yeah, it's kind of right in the middle for me. It kind of depends on the situation. This guy's a Junkrat defender, I get it. Ana is the most broken hero in every single elo and in every single rank, negating a core part of the game for such a long duration on such a quick cooldown leaves you with almost no reason not to pick Ana. Hot take. I think there's definitely times where Ana is very powerful, but right now, Ana's not bad. Ana's still like strong, but the flex supports are stronger. She's relative to the meta as well. Ana is a well-designed hero, lots of skill shots. You can get your antis forced out. They've actually nerfed the nade a lot. Nade used to like be what, 5 seconds, went down to 4. Sleep dart used to sleep for 5 seconds, is now 3.5 on tanks. The self-heal on the nade got cut in half to like 75 now, so she can't keep herself alive. The support passive got nerfed. Ana's received quite a few nerfs since. Like, I think there was a phase where she was like super strong, but right now she's still good with like Winston comps, but because there's just so much brawl, I keep saying it's mostly Bap Illari everywhere right now. But the thing is, when you nerf those two, that means Ana will rise up again. So it is something to address. Actually, arguably in the lower elos right now, it's more Moira, Lifeweaver, Mercy that's played the most, and I think Lifeweaver probably feels the cheesiest down there. And then in high elo, in my experience, it's Bap Illari right now. I'm telling you, it is Bap Illari. A core part of the game, Ana has been the same for 7 years, like with nade and sleep, and they've tuned it back in Overwatch 2 to address the one less tank to deal with it. She's pretty flexible. She does go with a lot of comps, but there are times where like you just don't have the opportunity to take off angles or even look for aggressive nades when you're just on the back foot the whole time. I'm obviously a little biased because I play a lot of Ana. Like, she's my most played hero of all time, but I have not played Ana for the past 2 seasons very much. I'm all BAP right now. It's either the anti-nade can be like, instead of a complete no heal moment, you can just have like less healing. You could still heal through anti. So it's not a true anti-heal, it's just a healing reduction, like a burn effect, I think in League of Legends is what they call it. That might be okay. Does that sound like a nice medium ground if you want to address anti-nade? I actually just commend good Anas with like a long range anti. I'm like, oh wow, good anti by them because they timed it and got a good nade off. But it's not like I'm always getting antied. Maybe because I'm also in the backline as well, so the Ana isn't antiing me all the time. Probably more frustrating for tanks to just get antied. And then in Overwatch 1, you had ways to mitigate the skill shot of the anti because it's one tank and half the tanks don't have a shield or a matrix. It's pretty easy. Like, if I'm an enemy Ana and they're playing Queen, it's pretty easy to just throw a nade at her. I get that, you know what I mean? Maybe the middle ground now without the double tank is again the 50% heal reduction. Then we could work around that. True. A hot take because this is very like black and white, very black and white, very like absolute most broken hero in every elo in every rank. I disagree with that. Matchmaking is not priority right now. Their priority should lie in better rewards. I can't even read this, it's so small. Less and less people are gonna play even with the progression levels. The only way people are gonna feel motivated to play games are if they make it so you earn 25 to 50 coins per game. Then people could actually grind for the shop skins. It would make it much more fun than just spending money on the game. Right now, the only way to get coins is 60 weekly coins or doing the Microsoft rewards shit, but that's only 200 coins in the span of 2 to 3 weeks. Even Star Wars Battlefront 2 had a better system than that when they had loot boxes. I know this is something everyone is yelling about in Season 1 too, but it's a problem now and the credits are practically worthless. Only being able to buy Overwatch 1 skins, especially for people who already owned all Overwatch 1 cosmetics. People want skins, not name cards, player icons, or titles that the progression levels give you. Plus, people say Overwatch 2 rank try to appeal to casual players, but you know what actually appeals to casual players? Free ways to get skins. TLDR, this is skin. I mean, your name, Flair, is skin connoisseur, so. Okay, let's unpack this hot take. Matchmaking is not the priority? Disagree, that's a hot take. Matchmaking should always be a priority. You know what turns people off as well? Bad matchmaking. That being said, these are not mutually exclusive. I do think better rewards do incentivize people to continue playing while being complemented with good matchmaking. I do think they should have a way to earn coins or make the legacy credits a bit better, but this was written like last month. They've actually started to implement ways to spend your legacy credits, if you guys haven't called. Now, the amount of pricing for the thing is another can of worms. But I do agree with like different ways to get a currency to continue to get cosmetics in the game. They have switched their business model. We understand that, right? But matchmaking should always be a priority. So that's like the big takeaway point here. Casual players will also enjoy good matchmaking in quick play instead of, you know, getting stomped all the time. Quick play MMR is a thing, and we want to make sure we balance the stacks with friends and have a good, fun experience. So what they've done this season in matchmaking and quick play is added the group respawn. Have you guys been playing a lot of quick play? Hopefully you guys have been noticing this season. Gavin, one of the Blizzard systems designers, he's in this chat a lot. He designed the group respawn thing. The group respawn mechanic is to stop stomps in quick play so that, you know, it feels not as bad in matchmaking, you know what I mean? A lot less feeding, but good core gameplay for the free players is what gets word of mouth out there to continue to bring new players in where the game is fun. Another hot take about Ana. Hot take, but Ana's anti-grenade is a bit heavy-handed as a cooldown utility, seeing how she already has a 3 to 5 second CC. It may be time to discuss the anti-grenade as a whole and see if we can convert a healing reduction debuff instead of cutting it off completely. Junkrat Queen could keep her anti version as it's tied to an ultimate, but it's just something to think about. So this is something we just talked about earlier. I agree. We all think that maybe a 50% healing reduction could be a nice middle ground because she is the only hero that can single-handedly anti, and against some certain matchups it can feel pretty tough. Let's do one more. I think this is a pretty long video already. I think I've covered quite a few. Okay, this one's a bit more nuanced matchmaking one. I don't think I've answered this one before. Paranoia VTuber says, ranked is in its worst state. The card system didn't remove anxiety, but added a pool of anxiety. When at 4 wins on a card, you either win or lose 15 in a row and never rank up. The fact you are never rewarded for a win unless you get 5 wins, but every single loss you will feel. I don't even think this is a hot take. I don't think the card system is the worst. I am a fan of the older system where you can have transparency on your rank every time. It kind of goes and it kind of has like, you know, two ends to this situation where the assumption was that not being able to like not feeling bad by seeing your rank go down after every win or after every loss was the idea to remove it so you don't feel the loss until your card ranks up. But you're kind of just like building something that'll just like pop at the end of it. So it just causes anxiety for some players. This new system might have been made by someone who wasn't rank anxious. I like the old system better, but this one, I don't mind it as much. Sometimes when I'm at like 4 wins and 10 losses, I know my next card will already be like a D rank. So like I kind of feel deflated in the upcoming match, which is true. I'm not anxious to see the D rank, but like I know it's happening. I personally don't feel as anxious because I know what kind of player I am. I've been the same rank for 7 years, so I don't experience this. So I'm curious. Well, now I see what, you know, Paranoia's who's put this hot take in their perception of it. And I'm curious for people who are, you know, going up and down a lot. I feel like a lot of people are feeling really anxious with it when I read how you guys are perceiving it. It can be a bummer. And I understand it from your perspective. Okay, maybe we'll do one more because these are actually really fun to answer. Not gonna lie. Okay, absolute last hot take here. Payload escorting is not fun on ranked. Repetitive to have to play the same map for at least 2 times alternating sides. Yeah, kind of a hot take. I think Payload's one of the better game modes. I like having to go both sides. If you don't like alternating sides, maybe it's time to just play quick play. If you have a bad attack, it's super exhilarating to have an even better defense. I find those super fun. I don't find it repetitive because the design of Payload is also non-symmetrical, which is probably why it feels better, at least for me. A lot of the other maps are like very symmetrical down the middle, but Payload is just a different design with each phase. First checkpoint, second checkpoint, third checkpoint, each map is completely different. And the strategies to attack or defend are also very different depending on the high ground and the design of the map. So hot take, I don't agree with this. Okay, and that's it for the hot takes this week. Make sure you leave your hot takes in the YouTube comments. See you next week.